Sgi 是国际创价学会 Sgi International 的简称。创价学会于1930年由木口长三郎和他的门生户田成胜成立，二人均是教育家，其中木口更毕生致力于改革日本教育制度。他深信教育的目的是让众生幸福，基于此信念，他创立了一套教育学。木口在50余岁时皈依日莲佛法，他从日莲佛法中见到与自己教育思想相得益彰的哲学，并且深受其积极入世、贡献社会的精神打动。第二次世界大战期间，木口和户田由于坚守信念，反抗和违背日本军政府政策，因此在思想犯的罪名下遭逮捕入狱。木口最后因营养不良在狱中逝世，享年70余岁。1945年，日本战败，重病的户田或是出狱，着手重建创价学会。这个已经濒临崩溃状态的组织迅速发展，直至1958年户田逝世时，会员人数达到75万户，即约100万人。户田的弟子池田大作在创价学会战后的重建中扮演了关键性角色。1960年，年届32岁的池田接替户田就任学会会长。在他的领导下，创价学会进入另一个发展阶段，活动范围扩大到日本以外地区。1975年，成立了国际创价学会。池田创办了多个和平、教育、文化机构，并且与世界有识之士进行对话，不断探讨如何把佛法的哲学思想用于应对全球社会各方面的挑战。国际创价学会 Sgi International 简称 Sgi 是一个秉持生命尊严至上的精神，促进和平、文化及教育，并扎根于社区的佛教团体。会员遍布世界192个国家与地区，所信奉的是日莲佛法以人为本的哲学。每位会员致力开启自己生命中无限潜能，并怀着自己是全球公民的自觉，积极地贡献所处的社区，为应对人类共同面临的全球问题，以一介平民身份效力。营造恒久不渝的和平文化是 Sgi 的一个主要关注，其焦点为对话、非暴力，以及对个人幸福与世界和平息息相关此道理的认知。作为联合国的非政府组织 NGO，Sgi 与其他民间社会团体、跨国机构和宗教团体合作，在和裁军、人权教育、可持续发展、人道救援等领域全力以赴。Sgi 会员每日的基本佛道修行是在自己家中唱念南无妙法莲华经和法华经的部分经文。Sgi 会员定期聚集起来召开座谈会，一起学习佛法，探讨如何将之实践在日常生活当中。会员们也在会上分享自己透过佛教信仰跨越生活中各种挑战的体验，以这种人性变革的实力鼓励其他与会者，激起他们的勇气。Sgi 的思想源流出自释迦牟尼以下称世尊，其核心价值观是生命的珍贵、人类尊严至上的思想。世尊得道后游历各地，说法挽救众生。世尊阐述的《法华经》包含其悟得的真谛，为大乘佛法的至高经典，其中明示标志着慈悲、智慧、无畏的佛界，是人人与生俱来的。《法华经》由印度传入中国和日本，在这两个国家得到诸多佛学大师和学士发扬光大，包括天台中国和日莲日本。在13世纪日本，日莲把《法华经》的精华诠释为南无妙法莲华经，确立了唱念此文的修行，为万众敞开超越痛苦、享有幸福及充实人生的大门，将《法华经》的精神和日莲的教义宣扬于当今之世。是拥有1200万会员、活跃于基层社会的 Sgi 尽全力推进的目标。尽管基于对生命尊严的敬重，致力促进和平、文化和教育，是所有 Sgi 组织的共同目标，具体活动却依据各个社会的文化背景进行。主要行动领域包括展览会、研讨会和座谈会，以及宗教间对话和非暴力运动。除此之外， Sgi 也在基层社会展开文化艺术方面的活动、社区服务计划和灾难发生时的人道主义救援活动。由1983年起， Sgi 会长池田大作每年均向国际社会发表和平倡言，以佛法为立足点，就人类共同面临的诸多问题提出应对的建议。在倡言论集的主题中，有许多受 Sgi 和 NGO 采纳，被编入他们的活动中。各地的 Sgi 会员也从中得到启迪，尽力成为好公民， 贡献社会。
Hello, yeah, I'm Orlando Bloom. I'm an actor, I'm a father, and I'm a practicing member of the Sgi since I was 16. I was living in London, and I was sort of racing through life. I was very inquisitive, very excited, and full of the youthful vigor for life, which I still have, fortunately, because I still have my practice. My exams were coming upon me, and for one of my exams I had to paint and draw. I was doing a sculpture exam, and I'd given up painting and drawing at a younger age because I was challenged by one of my earlier teachers, and I was not encouraged in a way so I had given up painting and drawing. And as the exam for sculpture approached, I was told by my teacher that I had to have a 15-hour still life drawing exam, a 15-hour oil painting exam, and a 15-hour sculpture exam. They were all going to work together, and I had to have paintings and drawings to back up each one of my pieces of art, my sculptures that I had made. And I was just like, I had 2 months to prep this, and David came into my life, my best friend, and so I went every weekend for about 2 months, and I would be in the other room painting. He set me up with an easel, and he was sort of teaching me, and I would hear him in the other room, nam-yoringigo, nam-yoringigo, nam-yoringigo. And one day I just walked into the other room and I said, so what do you do? And he said, well, I'm chanting that you're going to be very successful in your exams and that you're going to have a very successful life. And I said, well, will it help? And he said, yeah. And I said, great. So I got down on my knees and I began to chant. And that was my first encounter with the practice. And I then used my daimoku. I was going through this exam. I had a 15-hour oil painting exam. I remember painting a whalebone and a lemon, and I would look at this whalebone and lemon, and I had these oil paints out, and I'd be painting it, and I'd be like, at one point I would look at it and go, what am I doing? I'd nip to the toilet with my beads, sit and bash my beads and chant Nam-myoho-renge-kyo, come back to the painting and be like, oh, okay, carry on with it. Needless to say, I got, I got one of the highest grades, and they asked if they could keep my work because they wanted to keep it as an example of the highest grade for the next year. And I was like, wow. So there was actual proof for me, and I must say I had this opportunity that was presented to me kind of out of the blue in a really remarkable way, to have a meeting with Daisaku Ikeda, with Sensei, and I was like, wow. My first encounter with Sensei was obviously through many of the daily guidance writings. It was one of those aha moments of wow, this is meeting my mentor, meeting somebody who I've looked up to so much, and had been studying and reading around, was obviously a dream, really, and something that I had never imagined and couldn't quite fathom, actually. I was like, why me? Why? How? And that, of course, spoke to all of the things in my life about overcoming the obstacles of being good enough, feeling good enough for life, feeling good enough to have an encounter like that. It sort of struck me a bit like a thunderbolt, and I bounded off the bus and gave Sensei the biggest hug, and he returned the hug, and then he held me by the shoulders and he clasped his hands around my cheeks, and he sort of woke me up to this moment of we're seeing each other. And I remember I shared a poem that I had written. I gave him a poem that I'd written and for him, and I thought about how I sort of saw my life, and how throughout these years of really unusual circumstances of being a young actor who was really notable and was really thrust into the public eye without the tools to know how to cope often, and how grateful I was for the practice to have been an anchor for me through those years and through that period. And I shared this poem with him, and I remember his seamless interpreter, who was as if she wasn't there at all, said he responded and he said, "Those sound like my words." And I said, "Well, they probably." And he was quite sort of strict. He was like, "Those sound like my words." And I was like, "Well, yeah, they probably are, because I've just been reading everything and studying you, and you know that's been a big part of my life." And he was quite strict, and I was quite shocked, and at the same time grateful, and realized in that moment, and I think as many of the moments of our encounter did slowly settle, that it was about authenticity. Sensei's heart and his spirit was just so authentic, and it was so true. It was a really encouraging moment of embrace your own authenticity, and I never forget that. And I recall that Sensei was encouraging me to take the challenge every day, to win. And life is an eternal battle for our success and victory. And I think that as members of the SGI, I recognize more than ever the importance of starting that engine every morning with Daimoku, and embracing the day with the optimism and possibility that Daimoku gives me. That feeling of anything is possible and total victory is the goal. It's about being yourself, and the best version, the most authentic version of yourself, warts and all, really. Because only by excavating through Daimoku and really looking at your life can you reveal the best version of yourself, and have that path to victory continue to present itself.
대신에 선생가いるから威風堂々で皆さん方にお礼のために